Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and friends, and members of the conspiratorium, members of the clerisy, members of this group. I bid you a hearty hello and a hi-ho silver and a welcome to this, our Saturday version, May the 26th in the year 2024, Common Era. And as we always do, I remind you that we are a mere 163 days until the election. 163 days when Donald John Trump will be reelected and will mimic, will replicate an event that was last accomplished by Grover Cleveland to be the first or the second president to serve two non-consecutive terms. Historic for many, many reasons. What is happening right now is so wonderful. Sit back today. I've got a cacophony, a veritable endless library of things for you to consider, to see where we are going, to see where all of this is going, where we are traversing. And this is good news. This is a day of exhilaration. This is a day of exhilaration. But understand what I'm doing. I don't want to read headlines. That's boring. If you want to hear that, you know where to go. They've got other people who are just, I don't know what to tell you. That's not my gig. What I want to do is to tell you what things are happening and what they mean. Especially over this, the Memorial Day weekend, which nobody understands the slightest bit, the slightest meaning, the significance of Memorial Day, what it means, what are we memorializing, what are we remembering, as we bark, not you, of course, but Americans bark like seals when it comes to war, but they have no idea of what's happening. The right, and I am saying right now, I'm neither right nor left, but I am far more understanding of and sympathetic to that which is called certain factions of the right, not all of them. I have nothing to do with the left, except for areas of obvious, fair play and things. But we are finding that we are becoming the party, the organization, the philosophy of not pacifism, but peace. We are anti-war. We are. Now think about what I'm saying. We are anti-war. The left has become this, I don't know what. And left and right, when it comes to the Middle East, we'll talk about that later, they're virtually identical. So sit back, get ready. We're going to talk about Karens. Where did this term come from? Who are the Karens? Who are these people? What do they stand for? We've got some of the greatest clips and the greatest stories and the greatest pieces of fact which are so emblematic of what is happening today. And I will, of course, provide to you my, sui generis application of analysis that nobody is going to be a part of or going to dispel in any event. So please welcome. You are welcome. The only thing that we always ask is say what you want, but please be respectful of each other. That's all. Say what you want. Anything. Do not direct personal attacks against anyone other than people in office, not each other. I won't do it to you. You don't do it to me. It destroys discussion when you do that. That's all. It's no fun. Say what you want. Anything. Revel in the First Amendment. But first, dear friends, before we begin, let us take this moment to talk about this exceedingly critical story, and I cannot say this enough, why you had best pay attention now to what you're going to do in the event of and when food emergency and food insecurity hits you. It's no longer a question of if something catastrophic is coming, it's when. And while you still have some control, what are you going to do about it now to prepare? Well, your first step is going to my website, preparewithlionel.com. And for a limited time, take $200 off a 3-month emergency food supply. My Patriot Supply is equipped to help you and your family to prepare. They've helped over 2 million families already. These 3-month kits with ready hour foods provide over 2,000 calories every day with 22 varieties and a 25-year shelf life. Breakfast, lunches, dinners, drinks, snacks, everything. And they're sealed inside 6 rugged waterproof buckets, and they're over 120 pounds of food. So take advantage right now and go to preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com. One more time, preparewithlionel.com. Now, my friends, before we begin, let me give a moment of sadness for those of you who might not know this. I found out today that Doug Ingle passed away. Doug Ingle was in my youth, absolutely, positively, the most important musical purveyor, bar none. Doug Ingle was the lead singer of Iron Butterfly. Iron Butterfly, I loved like you cannot believe. Iron Butterfly they were the progenitors, they were the, what you want to say, the purveyors of acid rock, sort of, but psychedelic. What they were known for is In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida was the first, this was 1968. Found out my dear friend Jerry Wexler was responsible for that. In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, 17 minutes. And it had, and he was the last surviving member of the original group. Eric Braun, who was 17 years old at the time, who did this wild. I mean, they were into this distortion. You don't hear this anymore. It was like none of its kind. And here I am in 68. I was like 10. And here I am grooving to psychedelic music and acid trips. And I'm 10 years old. But it didn't matter. Nobody cared. Nobody said, well, we're really going to go do this. But it was this weird, the days of black lights and lava lamps. But Eric Braun was great. Ron Bushy was the drummer who did that solo that everybody, I don't know about you, but I memorized it. I was always doing it when I was bored in school, hearing this stuff. I mean, just the way they mic'd the drums. Lee Dorman on bass, but Doug Ingle's voice, I never know what he was saying. We had a thing called Hit Parader. Hit Parader was nothing but a magazine of lyrics, because sometimes the albums didn't have the lyrics on. And if you really want to hear this, the best album they ever did was when I was 11 or 12 years old, Metamorphosis, with Tampa's own Mike Pinera, Larry Reinhardt, El Reno. It was Slower Than Guns, New Day, Easy Rider, not the one you're thinking of. And Doug Ingle had that voice. Butterfly Blue, that is the best album ever. And to this day, I've heard this since I was 12 years old. Okay, so that's 53 years. I've been listening to this, and I still don't know what he's saying, but it doesn't matter. And with Mike Pinera from Tampa, who did later on Blues Image and Ride Captain Ride and all the other kind of stuff, it was great. But let me just say something very quickly, and then we'll move on. This was psychedelic. It's not hard rock. Call it acid rock, maybe, not heavy metal. I think Ball was his first album. It was okay. I think Heavy came out with it. But it was a different time. It was during this, and it was like trying to explain to somebody the difference between R&B and funk. Understand this? It was one of these things, R&B and funk, trying to distinguish these these gradations. Wonderful. But Doug Ingle was, and he typical mismanagement. I think he painted houses. He was great. His voice was almost operatic. In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida was anthemic. It was an anthem of this time. In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, supposedly according to Ron Bushy, he came home one night and he was drinking Red Mountain wine. Doug Ingle blasted out of his mind, couldn't speak. And he was talking about a song he wrote called In the Garden of Eden. Didn't understand it. Ron Bushy wrote down what he thought he heard. In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. That was it. Absolutely. Who can't, if you play the guitar, it was one of the greatest riffs ever. It was Keith Richards level. Different, of course, Cream, but there was the days of the riff. And each part, this kind of like this Vox organ, not B3, not clavinet, not Fender Rhodes, the Vox, which Mike Smith from Dave Clark 5 played that. The bass was, but Eric Braun, when he did this, that wild, scary, I never heard a guitar. Nobody played like that. It was like an elephant charging or something. The drums, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. That was something that kids don't know anything about. Psychedelic. And we were actually singing about, think about this, we were singing about acid trips. I'm in the 5th grade at Sacred Heart Academy. I'm wearing a uniform and I'm going, it was great. And the Vietnam War, that was my youth. That was the best music. Oh my God. Towards the tail end of the 60s. Remember, the 60s ain't the 60s. So anyway, enough with that. That is the music of Doug Ingle. Great. Oh my God, Iron Butterfly. You'll never hear, that was so, and they'll never get, I hope, I shouldn't say that. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe people do understand. I don't know. It was a wonderful time. Now, my friends, I'm not spiritual at all. I consider myself a one spirit, me. I was at an event recently. Somebody says, the two spirits. I said, I haven't heard anybody use that. Actually, use it. It's kind of like when people refer to weed as Mary Jane. I never heard anybody actually say that, but it was always it's also known as tea, weed, Mary Jane. Nobody says tea. Anyway, I'm one spirit. And I have, in the spirit of kind of like Rasta, Haile Selassie, Bob Marley, I have found this particular iteration, this particular man, this particular, I guess, spirit, so emblematic. I'm going to call him Rasta Man. I don't know. He's talking about our daddy. And he, I think, shows you this is the face of the new Republican Party. This is your GOP. This is the voice of MAGA, and you love him, and I do too.
I'm voting for Daddy, not Biden. Joe Biden, stop taking showers with children. Stop smelling little girls' hair. We know what you did with your daughter, Ashley Biden. Don't do that. That's wrong. You got to be a good man like Daddy is. Big Daddy Trump, President Big Daddy Trump. I'm the only one
I love this
with
man.
this. Nobody has this. I had
With
this
the
in
smoke.
2016, and I love him, and I will go all out for Daddy.
Thank you.
Isn't that beautiful? Daddy, Big Daddy Trump. That's it. That doesn't make you feel better. Don't you start off saying like, wow. Doesn't that make you feel like, yeah, I'm digging it. Yeah. Well, my friends, over the weekend, the president spoke before a group of people called the Libertarians. Now, I have my feelings about them. I like what they're saying. I understand what they're saying. But with every group, you have people. Remember the expression, I'm just here for the beer? There are people who just love being a libertarian. They're not libertarians. They like being a libertarian. They like telling you. And this was president. Talk about bearding the lion in his own den. This is the president at the Libertarian High Summit.
Libertarian Party should nominate Trump for President of the United States. Whoa. That's nice. That's nice.
By the way, the balls this man has. He doesn't care. He goes right into the enemy territory. He loves it. Loves it. And by the and they keep saying on the Twitter highlights, he was booed, he was booed, he was booed. Watch this, because there's this the fact that he was booed. You know why they're booing him? Because he's going to win.
Only if you want to win. Yep. Only if you want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Thank you, D-Roy. Thank you. No, only do that if you want to win. If you want to lose, don't do that. Keep getting your 3% every 4 years. The reasons for doing so, policy and politics, are as solid as the Hope Diamond.
You see, this is the part where he's so correct. He's absolutely so correct. Listen, I understand these folks, and God bless them, and they're wonderful, and that's terrific. But you know what? They're okay. They want to see, one of the things they want to see Ross Ulbricht either commuted or released or whatever. Now, very quickly, yes or no? Do you know who Ross Ulbricht is? Now, but don't look at this up. Just answer yes or no. Do you know who he is? And is Ross Ulbricht a subject that you discuss? Do you? No, 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 no. This was one of their big positions, big signs. Don Beck says yes because Don Beck does that. This is it. This was it. Ross Ulbricht. Oh, yes. As you know, Ross Ulbricht he's serving life imprisonment for creating and operating the darknet market website Silk Road from 2011 until 2013. And they used Tor and this kind of thing. This is what, and so President Trump said, okay, I will move to commute his sentence. And they went crazy. This is the Libertarian Party. Oh, listen, I am such a purist. You don't go after the medium, you go after the message, so to speak. You don't want to shut down radio because somebody said something bad on radio. You don't want to shut down TikTok because it has been the medium or been the platform from some bad things. Same thing with Twitter or TV, whatever. You don't I don't understand this. This goes without saying. But this is the mentality of the libertarians. And, Nick Gillespie is great. I remember one time we went to, there was an event I went to, it was a dinner for these, I don't know what it was. It was kind of like an honorees. And I hate to say this. Whenever you hear any position from the libertarians, remember this. Your reaction should be, oh, no shit. That's it. Obvious. Freedom, liberty. Yeah, I'm with you. That's like me saying, what do you want to hear? Something with a good beat. Okay. Okay. That's it. All right. That's it. Can you be more specific? No. Can you be what? No. Well, I kind of agree too, but any particular song, something with a good that's what it is. Okay. So anyway, let's talk about this thing called Karen. Where did the Karen come from? Do you remember where the term Karen came from? Do you have any idea of where this came from? Anybody? Where did the term Karen come from? You got any? Anybody? Anybody? This is today's subject matter. Class? A shopping feud? White soccer mom name? Where does it come from? Not what does it denote. Where did it coined in a stand-up act? Karen came from that reality show, The Girl in Central Park. No, those are examples of it. Where does it come from? That teacher in the campus calling for backup? Nope. Those are examples. Where does the term, they talk about Kevins too. Kevins are like the male version of it. Anybody? Anybody? Karen was patient zero? Well, no, I guess. Now, here is this. If I said to you, would you like to know where this comes from? Where would you find the answer to this? Where would you find this? Well, by virtue of this wonderful world that we live in, this wonderful, absolutely gorgeous and intellectually gargantuan place called the internet, and that of AI as well, which will help. The term Karen first appeared on Reddit. Reddit, by the way, is a wonderful, wonderful term. Wonderful. And it's Redditors and people. Some people get their news only from Reddit. Quora wants to be. Quora is like the Tumblr of whatever. But Reddit is this kind of a unique ecosystem, as I love to say all the time. The term Karen first appeared on Reddit in 2014 as a way to describe middle-aged white women who use their white privilege to get their way. At least that's a theory. It went viral in 2017 in a parody post about an entitled X, and the first pejorative definition appeared on Urban Dictionary in 2018. The term has since evolved to insult any woman who expresses anger regardless of race, age, or background. And it's now associated with entitlement, bossy behavior, bigotry, and using privilege at the expense of others. For example, Karens might be women who complain to retail staff on waiters, or who call their workplace. They don't like people congregating. It's kind of like get off my lawn, so to speak. There was this weird one. I think 2014 was it 20? Yeah, 2014 was in Reddit. Let me see. Appeared a blonde woman with a particular. It talked about a hairstyle too. It was somebody whose hairstyle. Anyway, so it's become this term that we use, and we know it when we see it. And we don't, it is, I would say, a predominantly white term. Wouldn't you agree? Like if you saw a black woman screaming on an airline, or would you call her a Karen? No. Not that it's racist, but you say, no, that's we're talking about it's kind of like a get off my lawn, so to speak. But then it also, think about it. It's not a racial thing, but you normally think about it in terms of white. By the way, I want you to understand something. A lot of the woke folks that we have are really recycled hippies. You don't understand that. But it occurred to me the other day, and I recognized, where have I heard this before? These are old hippies who, we'll talk about this in a moment. But the one that is the most important, this is the one. Let me see.
I'm voting for Daddy.
No, that's not him. Sorry, I know. Thank you. You're going to vote for Daddy. I can't get enough of this guy. I don't know who he is. I don't know where he's from. But I think the person that we know for sure, for the most part, the one that is
introduced for the first time.
Here we go. This was the first one. This is the longest hair. Do you know her name? Does anyone know her name? Do you know who this woman is? Do you know who this woman is? Why hasn't she made a fortune by virtue of who she is? Her name is Jessica Starr. And Jessica Starr is a sad story. This was about a woman. This was a woman who was a television star. She ended her life. It's very tragic. This is a woman in TV, Jessica. So if you look up Jessica Starr, Starr, like Ringo Starr, that's the first name you will come up with. It's very, very, very. But by the way, they were also called snowflakes. Remember, snowflakes was a term that we used. Remember that one? Snowflakes. But this happened. This was at the moment. And let's watch this carefully. This moment. This was one of the most iconic moments in recent history, brought to you by virtue of the internets. And this is the only one I could find that is a full-length version. She sat there, and somebody had, interestingly enough, had the wherewithal to poise their camera. Maybe they were noticing something, but this moment, this is like catching the girl covered with napalm, the monk who self-immolated, all these moments in history. Okay? But this, let's watch this first, and then we will break it down a little bit.
Donald J. Trump is now president of the United States. President Obama is the ex-president. And Mr. Trump, for the moment, steps to listen for the inaugural
great honor
address.
to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th president of the United States of America, Donald.
Tap on the shoulder. You adjust the microphone as you told, man.
For their gracious aid.
I am so sorry to my world. I am so sorry to my world. This is not what we want.
We will face challenges.
There's so much potential
we will get the job done.
for beauty and for devastation. In this one moment, it's just almost incomprehensible that they can exist right now. So,
and we are grateful
so
to
close.
President Obama.
Now, before you completely dismiss what she's saying, before you immediately say, "Oh, she's just crazy," is she crazy? Of course not. No, not crazy. Not at all. Not at all. See, I didn't understand how this thing works. But rather than just make fun of her, I want to know, what do you mean? And she signaled something which is the answer to everything. Let me give you an example. And I saw something recently. I don't want to go too much into detail because the folks who attend this might be watching. I don't want them to feel funny, but it hit me like a diamond bullet, like the old line from Marlon Brando. I know exactly what this is about. I understand. I mentioned before the hippie thing, because unless you understand how people feel, you're not going to be able to talk to them. You're not going to be able to deal with them. You're not going to be able to explain the way they feel. I'm going to tell you how to do it. And I'm going to explain to you. Remember this, when you think of this analogy, this will explain everything to you. But before we do that, it is time for a man who yells yes. Yes to opportunity. Yes to freedom. Yes to glory. Yes to the greatness of this country. The man who put together the greatest pillow and luxuriation company, probably in the history of mankind, the lovely and talented Mike Lindell from MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel. It's time yet again, my friends, to hail and salute our great friends at MyPillow.com. And if you use promo code Lionel, you'll get a free gift. No purchase necessary. And yes, I know, a free gift. It's a tautology, so sue me. But first, listen carefully. Check out their $25 extravaganzas. Premium My Pillows, Queen and King, My Pillow 2.0, My Pillow bed sheets, the lowest price ever. Sandals, slides, slippers, 6-piece towel sets, 4-pack dish towel sets. Simply and absolutely unbelievable. So go to mypillow.com/Lionel, mypillow.com promo code Lionel, or call 800-645-4965 and watch how fast Mike Lindell answers the phone. MyPillow.com, simply and absolutely the best. My friends, who are the Karens? Our good friend Sparky says Karens were Democrats, so much so that a movie was made in specific attempt to make the burgeoning pejorative associated with Republicans. Fascinating. And Sparky, I thank you. Let me give you an example of how a Karen works versus the way most people normally do, okay? Imagine the scene is Stalag 17 or The Great Escape, Bridge over the River Kwai. It's something where soldiers and people are captured, okay? Captured. The Karen would react differently than, let's say, us. What would we do? We would say, how do we break out of here? How do we overpower the guards? What type of tools or weapons do we use? How do we cause a distraction? Whom can we trust? What's the best time to leave? How do we win? How do we get out of here? What do we do to fix this? How do we escape? How do we use adequate and requisite force to blah, 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 blah? You got it? Good. Here's what the Karen would do. How do you feel about being captured? I'm feeling very sad. Well, we're going to have a group. We're going to meet and we're going to sit around. We used to call them rap circles, rap groups. We're going to sit around and maybe we're going to chat and we're going to feel about how you feel. And we're going to talk about my new favorite word. It's not new at all. At all. At all. But it's a word that is so important because I go into the enemy territory. What if I told you the word is defined as follows? A sociological framework that analyzes how a person's social and political identities can lead to unique combinations of discrimination and privilege. The term, by the way, was coined in 1989 by American scholar Kimberly Crenshaw to describe how different factors of a person's identity, such as race, class, gender, sexuality, religion, disabilities, culture, and lifestyle, can intersect and affect their life. What did I just describe? What is that called in Karen speak? That's called intersectionality. It's one of the biggest terms ever. Ever. And it's something that is so critical because they love to focus on victimization. Sparky says Karens are white, older, Gen X, upper middle class, Democratic women. Absolutely. Karens, and I think you're right, by virtue of this, they are white. And it's not, you can say, well, racial and everything. Well, is there a black Karen? I don't know. Maybe there's a version. But this is, and you're right about one thing. The Karen typically is somebody who shows an absolute, by the way, black women can show Karens. For example, entitlement. Fanny is a how do I say this? This somebody, we were talking one day, a friend of mine said, well, one's entitlement, the other one's just a bitch. He's like, well, yeah, but some people are just angry. But the woman recently who said, I'm not going to get off this. I'm not going to move out of this emergency. Is a black woman. I'm not going to move out of this emergency seat. This is the only person I care about is me. So get out of here. Call your supervisor. Get away. That's a Karen. It's entitlement. The movie Great Escape, How to Regain Freedom. But thank you so much. But the Karens would have said the Great Escape is the feeling of what it is like to be disabled from enjoy. See, it's always about me. How do you feel as you and I are going over the hill and tunneling out and overpowering the guards? They'd be sitting around hugging each other and with their therapy dogs and talking about the challenges and how rude the guards are and how they don't take into account their own two-spirited intersectional trans non-binary, you know what I mean? It's all, and they love definitions. They love this. I'm a cisgendered, two queer, two spirit, double. I'm an emotional amputee. I suffer from lactose intolerance. There are people who love the victimization. I have a friend of mine who lives over the fact that she, I got in fact more of them, but in this case, she is a recovering alcoholic. I've been 30 years sober. I go to, my sponsor said, when 30 years I've been sober, and all you want to do is just do this. And by the way, in some particular groups, and I want you to understand this, in some particular groups, this is the way of applauding in certain groups. This is classic beatnik, hippie, cafe wa, Thelonious Monk. And these are offshoots of hippies. This is a different, hippies were, in the old days, if you remember, I remember one time I was young. I went to kind of like a hippie comedy. They were like, they always had that kind of a stoner kind of sound. And yeah, dope was a part of it. But there was, this is a type of tea made from sassafras extract, and we double boil. We're going to eat some grain. And, they kind of, but very nice, accommodating. But it wasn't about, it was just like, we're here with nature, man. We make our own. Okay. That's like the hippie. Karens are that plus me. Selfish, solipsistic. By the way, this is a great word, and I don't want to screw up the definition, but solipsism is a theory holding that the self can know nothing but its own modifications, and that self is the only existent thing. I mean, they're like beyond. It's not like that. It's me. How am I doing? How am I feeling? How am I coping? How am I, as the house is on fire, how am I feeling? Am I able to handle the stress of the fire? Everybody else is jumping out of the window. Everybody else is running. You and I would say, we're going to go and we are victims of whatever it is. We're going to go to the police. We're going to go to the TV. We're going to go to Fox News. Fox News versus MSDNC. Fox News. Let me tell you something. We're going to go and we're going to vote and we're going to win. Republican. Anti-Karen. We're going to go and we're going to vote and we're going to win and we're going to tell Joe Biden. Republican. Democrat, Karen, lefty. We're not going to take this anymore. We're going to, Donald Trump is a mean man and he doesn't do anything and he cut funding for school lunches. What are you talking about? Just bitching. What are you going to do? I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to complain. Come on, the house is on fire. Do something. What's Joe Biden going to do? I don't know, but I'm just going to hold I'm Joe Biden. This is a mentality. You got to, this is it. This is who they are. And I never really understood it until recently. I never really grasped it. Now, there are variations of this. Sometimes they're just a pure Karen. Some people just love to bitch. I don't like this table. I don't like the air conditioning. Like Jackie Mason routine. I don't like this. I don't like the neighbors. You got a barking dog. They got kids next door. Some people just like to complain. That's not really a Karen. That's just a bitch. That's just an asshole. It's just a jerk. That's part of it. There are other people too who define themselves by what they're not. A little bit of a Karen. But the classic Karen, do you see this woman? It's this feeling of I want to collapse. Rachel Maddow. Remember the night? It's happening. This is not a dream. Did you hear the latest from Sotomayor? Sometimes I close my door and I cry. This is a Supreme Court justice. You what? I cry. You see, it's this wussiness. It's this, how do I feel? Here, let me give you a hug. Let me talk to you. I'm so sorry. He's a bad man. Yes. That's it. Me. How do I feel? How do I feel? How do I? My sense. This is terrible for me. You don't understand me. You've got to understand my sexuality, my whatever it is. Now this one I'm not even sure what it is. What is this one I've got here? Hang on. What am I?
Isn't clear.
Oh, this is beautiful. This, let me just throw these out, and then we're just gonna. I'm kind of doing this as a kind of like a collage. A collage. This is this fellow that I never heard about or cared about, Harrison Butker. Harrison Butker, before this change, would absolutely be screamed out of these Karen groups because he's basically saying, think about this. You're a woman, first of all, a woman, number one, they don't understand. I don't want to get into identification of gender and all that, but a woman might want to be a mother and a wife and to give, not sit back and say, how is she feeling? How are her thoughts? How is her sense of, am I okay with this? Do I have a name? No, it's a wife and a mom. No. Am I a 1-3 spirit, bifusional, non-traditionalist? No, you're a mom. No. Am I a womb? No, you're. It's not about you. It's about your kids and your husband and your family. No, it's got to be about me. I'll do this as long as it focuses on me. And they're saying, no, if you want to be a mom, you got to think about others first. What? You've got to think about others first. A mom and a dad, don't forget dads, but a mom doesn't have time to sit back during the day and feel about her own feelings. Now, there's a lot of them, by the way, who are being completely distorted by the fact that they live in this world of Instagram and TikTok, and all they want to dance and look how hot I am. And can you believe that this is really? I knew a woman who used to say with a straight face, you know, people can't believe that this is my daughter. They think this is my sister. And it took everything in my saying, what the are you talking about? What are you in some kind of a myopic? Somebody somebody thinks this is your sister? Well, you're what? Adopted, maybe. I mean, she didn't it was her whole world is me. Me. How do I feel? How do I look? Am I sexy? Am I attractive? Did you see what I'm eating? Did you see who I'm taking a picture with? Did you see me? Solipsistic toward me. No. Temper tantrums, crying. Well, this fella came along and he said, you know what? I'm going to talk about this. And now he is the biggest, hottest thing. And everybody's coming forward and saying, I don't see what he said that was so wrong.
If it wasn't clear that the timeless Catholic values are hated by many, it is now. Over the past few days, my beliefs, or what people think I believe, have been the focus of countless discussions around the globe. At the outset, many people expressed a shocking level of hate.
Yep.
But as the days went on, even those who disagreed with my viewpoints shared their support for my freedom of religion.
And by the way, people sometimes get in a, understand that when most people use the word Catholic, they have no idea what that means. No idea. It's a distinction. It's like Presbyterian, Lutheran, Baptist, Pentecostal, Episcopalian, Anglican, Church of it. No clue. Orthodox Catholic, no idea. None. No clue whatsoever.
In my 7 years in the NFL, I've become familiar with the positive and negative comments, but the majority of them revolve around my performance on the field.
Yes, because that's called a meritocracy. And the Karens hate that because the Karens do not want, the prototypical Karens, do not want equality meritocracy. They want to say, no, we're glad that you're a kicker because there have been no bearded, barbate kickers. It's about identitarian focus, not pure and raw talent.
But as to be expected, the more I've talked about what I value most, which is my Catholic faith, the more polarizing I have become.
Well, also because people hate Catholics. And you know who hates Catholics? Non-Catholic Christians. Baptists, Methodists, Protestants hate them. It goes back. And then they talk about things like the Vatican and the papacy and the infallibility of the Pope and the Jesuits. And they throw all this stuff in there. Oh, there are internecine battles. You know how sometimes within the Black community, they'll argue about skin color and who's lighter and darker. Same thing with this. Same thing with this.
It's a decision I've consciously made and one I do not regret at all. If we have truth and charity, we should trust in the Lord's providence and let the Holy Ghost do the rest of the work.
Now, by the way, that's a classic. That's a classic. Remember, Catholics dig, and I'm a retired Catholic, so I know what I'm talking about. They love the Holy Ghost or Holy Spirit. Holy Ghost is when I was, it's the old one. But that's part of the Trinity. You got that part. And by the way, another thing Catholics love that Protestants aren't into, Mary. Mary, 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 and also St. Paul. Keep in mind how that thing works, by the way. Keep in mind exactly what we're talking about here.
Our love for Jesus and thus our desire to speak out should never be outweighed by the longing of our fallen nature to be loved by the world.
I don't know what that means, fallen nature, but that's okay. By the way, what's the difference between him and Tebow? Remember how Tebow didn't, people were taking knees and all. And by the way, where is Kaepernick? Oh yeah, what happened to him? Remember that Tebow dude? I never really bought it. You know, I never bought it. This I believe.
Glorifying God and not ourselves should always remain our motivation, despite any pushback or even support. I lean on those closest to me for guidance, but I can never forget that it is not people, but Jesus Christ who I am trying to please.
See, I love this. I love this. And the reason why is because this drives people nuts.
Thank you again for being here tonight. To the heights.
To the heights, baby. We're not talking Crown Heights. We're not talking Jackson Heights. We're talking that. See, this is the beautiful part. Now, Sparky says, 2 of my sisters-in-law are, by the way, it should be sisters-in-law versus sister-in-law. Just saying, attorneys general, doesn't matter, but I know what you mean. 2 of my sisters-in-law are Karens. I get 100% of her news from NPR, or their news from NPR, and the other gets 100% of her news from Rachel Maddow. Each would consider getting news elsewhere, like insulting Christ. Well, you know, you have to understand, by the way, Sparky, thank you. You know what's interesting is you have to recognize the fact that how do you deal with these people? How do you deal with these people? What do? You're going to get mad at them? No. No. Absolutely not. Embrace it. Have you ever been to a mental hospital? Sparky, have you ever been to a mental hospital? Anybody here? Anybody here? Let me give you a little story about this. This is very important. When I was in undergrad, I was a psych major, well, whatever. And one thing we did, we went one time to a county mental hospital, and it was the best. I mean, low rent, low functioning, but very low budgeted. But I mean, had the worst of 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 the worst, really bad. And I loved, was fascinated. It's my life. It inspired me. My lifetime fascination with mental illness, and all of the variations of it on the spectrum. Personality disorder, schizophrenia, but all different, and basically just up. You know what I mean? Those people who were royally effed up. Okay. But that's part of it. And the one rule, Sparky, and this is what's important. One rule they told me was, remember, before you do this, let me tell you something. Do not get into their delusion. Do not get into their delusion. He said, let me tell you a story. A woman was there one time, and somebody walked up out of nowhere, and he had on a high school ring or a class ring or something. And he says, here, I'm the king of the world, or whatever it was. She happened to have a class ring of some sort. And she said, oh, then I must be your queen. Thought nothing of it, and he walked off. Wasn't angry, just walked off. Some time had passed, a day, who knows? He came back and said to her, I've been thinking about this, and I don't have a queen. I'm the king. And he hit her so hard, it shattered her orbit. She was just gone. I mean, the plastic surgery that was required, the mending, the healing. So she said, do not get into it. They're not to be played with. You don't play with them. You don't pretend like what they're saying has a point of view. Remember this always when you're dealing with superiors, when you're dealing with anybody. When you want to say something and not commit, you say interesting. Now, there's some people you can say, okay, this is safe, because I've done this before. And people will say, well, who are you voting for? Oh, Biden. Absolutely. No, you're not. I most certainly am. And they look at you like, no, you're not. Yes, I am. I said, did you ever listen to Rachel Maddow? Did you ever listen to NPR? I think it's pretty clear. I'm not going to vote for this racist Trump. What did he ever do? Joe Biden has done, and I tell people, name one thing Joe Biden has not been successful at. Just one. Name one failure. See? And then I move on. Now, provided they're not crazy, you're not going to win with these people. They don't know better. It's the group of people that sit around and hug. It's the Karen. It's the people who cry and feel. They don't understand. Now, let me explain something also to you. This is something, there's a woman. Now, here's this is the most interesting. Because it's one thing for you to be, and by the way, please, I ask you, dear friends, please subscribe. Make sure you are subscribed. I need 700, 800, 1,000 likes. It's just not happening. And I appreciate this. You're busy. But like this. It sounds so obscene. I'm so please, but please, I have to remind you of that, because that's our algorithm. There is a woman named Meager Brzezinski. Meager, or Mika, or Zika, like this. Remember the Zika virus? Remember that? With this causing that pinhead. It was terrible, these teratogenic responses. In any event, this is a woman who never was treated with any brains by her father, Zbigniew Brzezinski. She was on, and she always was the turd in the punch bowl. Always. She sat back all the time and said, oh, come on, stop it. Oh, would you stop? Just stop it. That was her whole thing. That was her whole thing. Stop it. She's like a Karen before you knew what a Karen was. And I used to be buddies with Joe Scarborough. Absolutely. I used to go on, his show was on 10 o'clock at night on MSNBC, Scarborough Country. Ding, 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 ding. Scarborough Country. Remember it was the steepled heights? Hold it. Sparky's weighing in. Sparky says one of them is a girl boss and the other isn't as assertive. I get along with them fine. We just don't talk politics. They're not so caring with our family. Good. Because remember, it's okay. Say what you want, but just pick the hill you want to die on. And thank you for that. I used to be on the show, and at 10 o'clock at night, we would stop the show, and I would watch Scarborough Country on the air, and my producer at the time, we would just laugh. It was the corniest. Joe Scarborough was the corniest conservative. Ronald Reagan. Joe Scarborough cannot pronounce long A's. Joe. We're going to put him in Joe. Did you fell? You fell to what you did. So we're going to put you in Joe. Put him in Joe. Oh, dear God. You mean like dippity-doo or something? Remember dippity-doo, ladies? Anyway, Joe fell. You felled. I felled? A tree? No. Pass or fell? Oh, fail. Fell. Gel. Long A's, no good. Okay? And he has this, anyway. So he's on, all of a sudden, he's with this turd in the punch bowl. And I talked to him one time. I said, what is with it? And I was on his show. I was on his show one time with Ted Nugent, who was just a complete buffoon. And it was at a time when I'm exactly the way I am now, but they were phonies. They were all phonies, and I hate a phony. Tell me what you really believe. But, and Ted Nugent, the whole thing about I'm a hunter and I'm going to eat bladders, the livers of bear. I mean, I was like, okay, I got it. It's just like, and this fellow who's doing a wonderful job, and I like him a lot, but watch what happens. You want to have a prediction, no matter what you say. But this fellow is Harrison Butker is going to push this thing. He's going to hit overkill so fast. We're going to say, I know, you're a Catholic. Okay, move on. Talk about something else. Can you just, okay, because he's too much into this. He's kind of like Candace Owens does that. When you're right, I'm right, and I'm going to maintain. Oh, okay, good. But balance it. You know what I mean? Balance it. You're right about that, but don't let it. You know what I mean? Just talk about something else and then circle back, as they say. Anyway, so Joe Scarborough and I would talk and whatever it was. Well, then something happens where they realize, and they were having an affair. Everybody knew it. They knew it. You could see it. Everybody. I'm not going to tell you what else I'm hearing about them because it's nobody's business. We're going to talk about the facts of the case and the particular story, and that's it. But things aren't perfect in paradise. Let me just leave it at that. In any event, Meager is so full of shit. Let me give you an example. One time we were at a matinee, and it was a musical, or put on, I think it was produced by Kathy Lee Gifford. And it was something about Amy Semple McPherson. Anyway, it was a matinee. It was very good, by the way. So here comes walking down the aisle, Meager Brzezinski. Meager. And she wanted everyone to see who she was. Hey! She would point to somebody in the middle of the row. Hi. Hey, good to see you. Overdone to it. Can you all hear me? Yeah, I've got a friend here. Hey, yeah, it's me. Meager, that's me. I'm here with my friend. Catching a Broadway musical. Yeah, it's me. Living a life, living large. And she would bend down and talk. I mean, it was just like, oh, please. They're kind of like not holding it up. But it was like, this is when I realized, dear God. And at first, Scarborough was okay. Everybody who came on the set, she'd get up, walk over, hug them. I was on one time. Remember that who was it? Je suis the Dutch, whatever, the dude who was stabbed by the whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you Why are you deliberately putting mocking pictures of Muhammad in front of people who are telling you, if you do that, I mean, clearly not. It's not like in the Salman Rushdie where he just wrote about this. This was deliberate. So I said, look, you have the right, obviously. You have the right to do this, but understand who these people are. Don't be surprised when they carry through with their threats. Oh, they went crazy. But it's true. It's like, look, you know what? You shouldn't have to lock your car. But if you don't lock your car and they steal your stuff, don't look at me. Does that make it right? No. As I said, you shouldn't have to, but that's the way it is. Charlie Hebdo. Okay. Meager and Joe thought we're going to be the talk because they saw Trump is going to win, and because they had Trump there was some talk at the time of him doing his own news program or something. So they did everything in their power, lobbying for Trump to hire them. Trump looked at them and said, "Get the hell out of here." So they turned, and now they are in Washington. They watch Meager and Joe, and they watch CNN. They love that. The people in there now, absolutely. Deep state folks. Okay. So listen to this nonsense. This is Meager, and they're putting together this. Just watch this, and then we'll break it down.
Harris' 2024 campaign is out with a brand new ad highlighting the dire threat Donald Trump poses to Black America if he's reelected.
Now stop right there. They're putting out an ad. Why are you promoting an ad? Okay, I know. Well, it's a news story. No, you're a conduit. You're an agent. You're an apparatchik. This is agitprop nonsense. That's what this is. Okay, don't give me this business about, well, no, I'm just, no. Stop it. You know what you were doing. So just don't come up, just say, paid for, I'm Joe Biden and this is my campaign manager.
I'm Joe Biden and I approve this message.
Of course I hate these people.
Now, first of all, we don't know who the people are, but let me give you an idea of this.
Donald Trump disrespecting black folk is nothing new. He was sued for refusing to rent his apartments to black families and called for the execution of 5 innocent black and brown teenagers.
And it's more than anger, it's hatred.
Now, by the way, this, of course, is the story of the Central Park teenagers. Central Park. Do you know how many folks I have heard and people have been talking about that who say, you know what? We don't necessarily see the story of the teenagers of this woman who was beaten and savagely assaulted. We don't really see it that way either. But so at the time, it's not that he hates certain folks. He has a particular framework which is shared by others.
And it's more than anger, it's hatred.
It's why Trump stood with violent white supremacists, warned of a bloodbath if he loses the next election.
Listen to this. I'm sorry. He stands with violent supremacists. Is this what he said? They're not all bad or something? I don't know because they don't tell you the context.
Anger, it's hatred.
It's why Trump stood with violent white supremacists, warned of a bloodbath if he loses.
Not a bloodbath. Remember the bloodbath was? This was an economic bloodbath. This was about the auto industry. Again, misquoted constantly.
The next election. And if he's president again, vowed to be a dictator who wants revenge on his enemies.
You remember where this happened? It was a joke. It was a joke in front of Hannity.
Now, who do you think that is?
Of course I hate these people.
See, I mean, do you have any? Now look. Does this make any difference? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Nobody cares in the least about this. Nobody. No one. Now, I mentioned to you before our friend Madeleine Brame. Madeleine Brame lost 2 sons, but one son did 2 or 3 tours in Afghanistan. 3 tours. And he came and he was stabbed here. And she has become the eloquent voice that is just, well.
I'm very disturbed, number one, by these comments that these paid, elected officials off of our tax dollar are making towards a whole entire demographic of American citizens.
By the way, she's a Brexit activist. Brexit, okay? Brexit.
They work for us. We don't work for them. They got it
Absolutely.
twisted, okay? Yesterday, out in the Bronx, that was electric. There was something supernatural about that whole entire experience. The energy that was in that park of people of all races, all creeds, all religions, all together on one accord. And we were happy and we were excited. It was magical. You had to be there to understand and feel the energy. None of those rich people in suits would ever step foot in there.
Now, that's the point that was said repeatedly. The number of folks who said he came here to speak to us.
Donald Trump did, and we had his ear. He showed us that he cared.
You know, Madeline, they've got away with saying that. They can feel confident because they've gotten away with saying those types of things for half a century.
Yeah.
They've gotten away with accusing their opponents of racism. They've gotten away with making broken and unfulfilled promises for half a century.
Yeah.
Why this time will it be different?
It'll be different because they fumbled us, okay? 60, 70 years of being loyal to a party that has never returned anything to our community. We have gotten nothing but welfare on top of welfare. Crime, dilapidated housing, failing schools, okay? Safe injection sites, abortion clinics, liquor stores, okay? What's the latest thing they put in there? Those legal weed spots. This is all they give us because they think that these are the things that will satisfy and pacify us. Keep all that crap, okay? Make some major investments in those communities and bring some serious jobs. Replace the guns, replace the drugs with hammers and nails and drills and steel worker and iron worker. All right, use those young men who were involved in the criminal justice system to renovate and rebuild that dilapidated housing and pay them good money with benefits so they can take care of their children, all right, and help lift them up out of poverty, all right, instead of enabling the outright just decimation, all right? Make some pathways that will help them avoid incarceration, right? All this crap that they're talking, I've been around a long time, a whole bunch of 24/7s, okay? And I voted Democrat loyally, and they have done nothing. They fumbled. They fumbled the black vote. They fumbled the minority vote. They fumbled the Democratic vote, and it's no more. It's over.
Absolutely. I got to tell you something. And we know her. She's a great friend of Mrs. L. She's on the Lynn's Warriors advisory team. This woman has an eloquence, has an ability to speak. Thank you, Charlie. Charlie, by the way, is a new member. Bless your heart, Charlie. Charlie. I call you Charlie. Listen, Charlie. It was you, Charlie. This woman makes so much sense. She is so perfect. Now, but by the by, there is something which is, I love this thing called justice. And justice is this phrase that I don't even know what it means, because justice is always means that you won, you know, that you were successful. But to me, justice, my favorite, is when the good guys prevail and the bad guys are quashed. You know what I mean? That's exactly, that's what it is. This was a scene of an attempted carjacking. Don't ask me how you're going to say, what? This will make you happy. And this, quote, elderly couple, probably younger than me, elderly, they're elderly. They were attempted, there was a problem, or a carjacking, or some type of road rage, or I don't know what. But these young punks jumped out and approached this, quote, elderly couple, who proceeded to beat. They had none of this. Watch this with excitement. This is the older woman. Look at this. Look at this. She says, I've had enough of this. You want to fight? You want to tussle? Check out the old man there. Look at him. Come on. Come on, tough guy. Look at her. Mike Tyson, ladies and gentlemen. You want to mess with mama? Go ahead. Come on. And another thing. Get here. You want to yell? You want a road rage? I got your road rage right here. I got your road rage. This is just fun. Now, you don't have to do it. Get out of here! Look at this. There's nothing fine. This is just so powerful. Anything else? Anything else we say? No. Get out of here. Don't you? I'm sorry. I love when the good guys prevail. I love when the good guys prevail. That's what I'm all about. Just common sense. I will make your life, I will accommodate you in any way possible. I will do everything to accept you, as it were. I don't care. Anything you want to be, any persuasion, any idiosyncrasy, anything. Two spirit, one spirit, intersectional, bifusional, non-binary, LGBTQIK, MOUSC, RAGG, MOBB, RedMat, whatever you want to be, this is America. Irrespective of your beliefs, I'm telling you. But just get out of my way. We're getting out of this prison. And if you want to stay behind and have a rap session and talk and hug, that's fine. But my friends and I, we're getting out of here. We're going to take the wall. We're going to tunnel out. We're going to get together and we're going to move. And whether you are anybody who wants to join us, if you're a prisoner in this place called the deep state or shadow government, join us. That's it. Everybody out. Who wants freedom? Now outside, we'll discuss differences of opinion and that sort of thing. But that's different. That's what I'm all about. And I don't care what you say. Anything you want to be, anything, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of inequality, a lot of inequity, a lot of problems. But I'm not going to sit around with with our friend, Miss Jessica Starr. I am not going to be a part of this.
Donald J. Trump is now president of the United States. President
Never. Yes.
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald.
In a few days, that's 163 days. I know this
I'm so sorry.
Don't worry. I'm
To
sorry.
my world, I am so sorry to my world. This is
I'm sorry
not
too.
what we want.
It's what I want. Because we're not going to take 4 more years of this. Now, you had your chance. And that's it. Juan Naranjo, the orange man, says, thank you for the laugh this morning. I'm exhausted from a long weekend of work, and that video just started my day on a happy foot. Thank you. Isn't it something? And by the way, Juancito, muchísimas gracias. Gotta get the Castilian theta. So much is I mentioned I started off talking about Doug Ingle Force and the Iron Butterfly. I was 10 years old when Inagana Vida came out. And here I am, and I have seen so much. The greatest thing that's ever happened is the ability of us to utilize and harness this thing called social media. Social media changed everything. Social media changed everything. This is the greatest thing in the world. And they can't harness it. They can't stop it. And the mainstream media, the Joes and Amigas, are absolutely beside themselves. And the worst part about it is that they don't know. It's like that Japanese soldier who didn't know the war was over. He didn't know it was over. They didn't know. They're still abiding by this. Everybody knows, and I'm going to just say this, as I've said before, Donald Trump is chemotherapy and chemosabi. He's chemotherapy. And the chemotherapy, by definition, is a poison that will kill you if taken for nobody. There's no reason. You don't give chemotherapy. You don't give like tamoxifen to somebody who's no. But if there's a tumor, if there's something that needs to be done, if there's a cancer, it's a lifesaver. Donald Trump is a lifesaver. And if you don't like him, hold your nose and vote for him. I promise you, the problems that he necessitates or accelerates are theoretical. The problems that he will stop and correct are immediate. You'll feel them. You'll see them. The rest of it's kind of like highfalutin, whatever it is. If you think Donald Trump has any concern over your two-spirited, non-binary, LGBTQIA, whatever it is, if you think there's somehow being cis-trans or whatever, no. You could be an isomer for all you care. Doesn't care. Doesn't matter. If you all of that. If you think that somehow this trope about I hate black people, then you haven't been paying attention. It doesn't work anymore. The time is up. There's no need to even discuss this anymore. No need. You know it. You are absolutely, completely possessed of the facts. And my friends, yesterday, I want you to know this. And this is one of the reasons why you must do this. This is Mrs. L's website. Not website, her YouTube. I keep calling it a website. Yesterday was a very, 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 very critical piece that she did. Do you know, let me give you a name. Let me give you a name, especially if you're a New Yorker in particular. Do you know the name Eitan Pates? Do you know? And I want every one of you great people to click on to this link right here. This is the video she did. Do you know who Eitan Pates was? Eitan Pates. Does that name ring a bell? Eitan Pates was responsible for what was called at the time the, I guess you'd call it the milk carton, right? Wasn't that it? Yes. He is in 1979. And he was in Soho, and he's this beautiful young boy who was walking to school, and he was not seen again. They got some guy named Pedro Hernandez, and I don't believe that for a moment. But that's another story. Eitan Pates is the name that everyone, and by the way, watch this. And yesterday was National Missing Children's Day. In honor of him, this shocked people. How this beautiful young boy just walking to school, and his mother member sees him turning the corner because he insisted, I want to go to take the bus. And she waved goodbye, and that was it. This was in 1979. It was a different time. And he spearheaded. He became the, sad to say, the inspiration for what now we have taken too for granted. Follow that. Go to that website one more time. This is now, I keep saying website. This is Mrs. L's link. Go and watch this. And to this day, do you think there has been enough effective methods and movements and procedures and policies to protect young children? No. John Walsh has done a tremendous amount of job, but no. Remember Adam Walsh? I'll never forget that. It was in Miami when Otis Toole and supposedly what was his name? He had that eye. Hottest tool. The other one who confessed to like 300, I forget his name. Anyway, this is critical. And that's why her movement continues on, unabated and unafraid. Sparky says, what young people don't realize in the old days, there were many more public physical fights. Maybe it was the leaded gasoline. These elderly people have much more experience. You know, it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that. You never, ever, ever, ever. You never know, Sparky. By the way, thank you. You never know whom you're dealing with. You never know. It's one of those things where you just don't know. I remember one time there was I was doing I was at a crisis center. By the way, one of the most interesting things ever is how this is so eerie. How Ted Bundy and I both were in psych majors, both went to law school, both worked and drove a particular I was a aide to a senator, and also we worked in a crisis center, suicide center. I mean, it's eerie. I'm not a serial killer. He was, of course, but I was talking to this old lady one time who had her E&J. Remember Everson Jennings? Remember the old wheelchairs with the metal? And her son was in, I think, the Navy. I don't know, her son. And he had his 45 in the leather, you know, the US, that beautiful leather tooled. And she had it bolted to the side of her chair, she knew how to use it. She was in her home, whatever. She heard this, I forget, it was a roomy house. Anyway, she heard this step and she heard somebody like banging on the door. She says, I'm here. I'm in. Can I help you? Yes. And she saw what appeared to be either a prying device or a crowbar or something enter between the door and the frame. Start to jiggle. And she says, I've got something. I've got a weapon. Go away. I'll use it. So he won't stop. So she racks around and thought, well enough, she didn't, fire through the door, but she was up. She figured out she's looking for somebody that can hide. She was a pretty decent shot. It's a place I can shoot it where I can, but she wanted this fellow to hear this because this guy was coming in and the door was starting to bow. And at any moment, whoever was outside was coming in. So she delivers a round as he's jiggling, pow! And I guess saw splintered wood. She heard a crowbar or something drop. He just dropped it and heard this. He took off. Why? It's a different mentality then. It was a different, it wasn't reckless. It was just like, I know how to handle this. And I forget how I even came into contact with her, why she was calling. It wasn't because of that. But the thing is, but you're right, Sparky. There was a different mentality. When you look at people, there's a guy named Brett Ernst. He's a comedian. Listen to how he talks about his grandfather. He says, did you ever have a grandfather who had hands like, I think it was even Richard Pryor says, you could light a match. They were like rough. The guy's been working his whole life. They're veterans. And they're like, they shake your hands and they crush it. And he could grab you like with a nerve pincher, grab you. They were like tough. And they were working their whole lives and they're really, and you look at some of these guys too, especially, we have a friend of ours whose father was at Omaha Beach. I know people say that. He really was. And he was this little Italian guy, grandpa. Hey. Well, I saw a picture of him when he was young, and they had his army memorabilia in a frame, CIB, everything, combat infantry badge. And I mean, he was there. And he had a look. This guy was like, I don't know, 19 years old. He had a look with that hairstyle that was just like, don't even think about it. But he looked today like this nice little old man. These were warriors. These were tough. This was really, and they didn't sit around all day. And I don't mean to demean anybody, but there's a lot of shows on TV, on platforms They talk about, I was a SEAL. 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 When I was in Afghanistan. And they talk about it, and they're covered in tats, and they're rough, and they're tough. And I was a SEAL. And I was a SEAL. I was okay. Jocko, this. I'm fine. Listen, God bless you. Thank you for your service. These fellows, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. They just, it's a different mentality. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this. Please don't get me wrong. Maybe it's beneficial, but it's a part of this thing about speaking. I'm going to leave you one thing. I'm all for speaking your mind. Let me tell you how I feel about this. I've never been a big, let me talk about it. How do I feel? I don't. Sometimes when bad things have happened to me, it's like having a poison. You know, when a child drinks something, they always say, do not induce vomiting, because when it comes back up again, it's worse. It scars the esophagus even more. Sometimes when you bring things up, it's worse, causes more damage. I wish you the best. But me, therapy, talking, never. I've always loved people, very frankly. It's like, you know what? If you want to talk about it, that's fine. But do me a favor, shut up about it. That's why all these people I know say, I've been sober I'm a survivor. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. No, I got my pin. Okay, I got my ribbon. I got my pin. I got my chip. I got my this. I'm a survivor. I'm trans. Okay, I'm a non-binary. Okay, all right. That's why I hate people who do all this stuff, taking pictures of themselves. Do me a favor, just shut up. STFU. Just shut up. And if there is something about it, if you need help, talk about it. Do everything you can to get through something. But don't wallow in it. And with all due respect, and I appreciate this too, Mr. Butker. Thank you. We know you're a Catholic, and that's wonderful. You're not the first one. And I appreciate the fact, but don't go nuts with this stuff. You're a Christian. Good for you. There are billions of Christians. Thank you very much. Do you know what fascinates me right now? Have you noticed, ladies in particular? Everybody, not everybody, but all of a sudden people are talking about menopause. Menopause. It's the hottest thing. Menopause. Ladies, don't keep quiet. You've got menopause. Okay, good. No, you don't understand. I've got menopause. Okay, all right. Everybody, I don't mean to demean it. I'm not. But why is there this advocacy? Oh, do you understand? I've got a ribbon. I've got ribbons, and we're good. We're going to fight back. And we're not going to. You got a problem? Who's giving you a hard time? You don't understand. It's this identity. It's this identitarian. I love being not a victim, but it tells me who I am. Don't you understand? I'm a survivor. Ladies, how many of you, seriously, and you don't have to answer this, have been through menopause, and your mother was through menopause, and your grandmother's through menopause, and your sisters are through menopause, and it was a bear, and I wouldn't wish this, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist. But how many of you said, okay, I went through menopause. That's it. I got kids. I'm a mother. I got through it. People who go to war, people who come back, people who deal with this. I mean, seriously. And men sometimes laugh about it like, oh, I got menopause. No, some people, it's just, some it's horrible. Some it's just like, with all due respect, I know nothing about this, but I've kind of been around. There are some people who have, periods, menarche, menses. It's dysmenorrhea. Sometimes it's horrible and brutal. Others are different, but somehow, and believe me, I always say that if men got periods versus women, businesses will be closed all the time because men wouldn't be showing up to work. But you notice how they're trying to find something new? People love to say, you don't understand. You don't understand. Okay. But I've got my site right now and I'm doing great. And we're going, okay, it's good for you. No, you don't I know you don't understand. I got it. And then it goes from I got through this to it, I identified to it, and then or identified with it, and then I'm the spokesperson. And same thing with Butker. So just do yourself a favor. Remember, what started the Karen off is where we started this today with, is that it's all about me. It's about how I handle it. It's about how I handle things, how I'm able to deal with this. You know, I always think to myself, we all were, when we were kids, I don't know about you, but we all had this stuff. There was a picture of me that somebody sent me, and we're in, I think it's the 5th grade, and I'm like the tallest one. I'm like the biggest one. I had glasses, braces, overweight, fat, and stuttered, but I worked around it. But there were some times where it was not good. Okay, fine. Didn't think, didn't even understand, that, because I had one teacher, one in particular in this one group, took me and this other guy, pulled us out of school, and no, it was a nun. She said, "I think you're retarded." Told me this. He said, "What? I think you're retarded." Me and this other guy, his was worse than mine because I kind of worked around it. And I thought to myself, you've got to be kidding. Now, maybe it's my parents. Maybe it's because maybe I didn't respect her. Maybe I knew a little bit about stuff. I don't know. We didn't have a focus. We didn't have a support group. There was nothing online. I didn't know anybody who stuttered. I didn't know anything about that. The doctor said, "You're fine. I'll grow it." Okay. Now, again, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just different. I was always fat. I remember one time going to school. I used to go to this place. I wore 36 Huskies. 36. And even then, I asked my mother, I said, "They had to put the Husky on it? I mean, isn't that 36? I've got like a 12 inseam. Doesn't that indicate? Do you have to remind me that I'm on a Husky?" Whatever. What are you gonna do? I thought about it. I said, "Well, it'd be nice to look at." I didn't lose my mind. Sparky says, as people age, typically they keep most of their physical skills for a longer time than a youngster might imagine. What they lose is endurance and the ability to recover quickly from physical exertion. Whoa. Meaning, but they also have that mentality, that killer instinct. Oh, absolutely. Remember, older people are better at judging differences. So the thing I tell you this, and by the way, thank you again, Sparky. The thing I don't understand is I never knew this. I grew up, I guess, with the parents. My mother never took pictures of herself all day long. And we didn't bitch and moan and complain. And we were just normal. I mean, just normal. Nothing special. Nothing. I didn't understand this. I didn't understand. I didn't get. That's like when Joe Biden was talking about, well, I had a stutter. It's like, stutter? These poor kids. There are some people who can't even get a word out. Don't talk to me. Talk to them. This is nothing. And there's a way around it. And by the way, if there's any stutterers out there, I'll give you some hints, some tips that I learned along the way. Because it doesn't kind of go away. You kind of mask it by changing the flow of your voice. One of the reasons why I speak like this, one of the reasons why I developed this delivery is to be able to change it. Because if I ever had to speak like this, I don't know if I'd get through it. I don't think I could do that. Some people could speak like a William. I just can't do that. But if I'm do something animated, never a problem. Okay, big deal. So there you have it. Big deal. So what? Get on with it. Move along. Not today. Not today. So what I'm saying is I don't want to lose my compassion for people, but I hate belly aching. And I hate people sitting around, and I love realism. Look, I'm not asking you to like Donald Trump. You know what I mean? You don't have to like him. You can be a jerk. Fine. Whatever. Anything else? You have to like people? I don't think you would have liked James K. Polk. I don't think you would have cared for him too much. Or John Tyler. That's where we are today. I've got to like you. So my friends, I thank you. Smiling Sue says, my son was chubby. He's now slim, 6'2". Isn't that beautiful? I like chubby. 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 And here's the best part. When I was a kid, there was a girl who was chubby. She went through hell. Not anymore. Look, I'm not going to get into that. Next person. I like James Polk. All right, Lincoln. Thank you so much. Sean Martin says, Democrats, I know, blame Joe's delivery on his stutter. Yeah. That's right. No, that's not a stutter. That's not a stutter. That's not a stutter. Okay. Quick stutter story. When we used to answer the phone, nobody does anymore, but it was the time when the phone rang, you answer the phone. One word, sometimes it would get me. L's would, my name. L's would really trigger me up. But H's, sometimes I'd get nervous because the phone would ring. And there's one thing about stuttering is you get anxiety, you get performance anxiety. So speaking, oh God. Ring. Anybody got that? No. Anybody got that? No. God damn it. So I remember one time, I'll never forget, I picked up the phone and I did a kind of a and they're thinking, I got an obscene phone call. I mean, I called somebody and they were ready for me. The only person who called, I got an obscene phone call. So I found out that I couldn't say hello, but yellow is no problem. That's the color, yellow. Or if I change it, yellow, what is it? Anything changing it. I would answer the phone. What is it? Well, that's a good one. What is it? What? Good day. Good evening. How are you today? Speak. It's your dime. Anything other than hello. Just work around it. Didn't go to a class. Didn't go to a support group, which is fine if it works for you. It's like, get over it. Figure it out. Sparky says, there was also a clothing term. Oh, portly. Remember when women, what was the one, honey, that was it Lane Bryant? My mother went to this place where they had like big clothes. She wasn't really Dress Barn. Yeah. Dress Barn. Yeah, but I mean, barn. You think of that? My mother and I used to joke. We call them fatty frocks. They go for, well, listen, tall and big men shop. Do they have that anymore? They had these tall and big men shop. That's where I put my money, in overweight. Do you ever see women who sometimes have jeans and you think, where did you buy those? Where did you say? And they fit. It's like, you bought this off the rack? How did you do that? 38, 40 waist, short inseam, but with a caboose. Like, where did you? That's where I put my money. There's more women who look like that than look like Twiggy, and I'm dating myself. Darlene says, Dress Barn sold regular size clothes too, separate sides of the store. Well, listen, Missy, don't get all upset about it. We're not talking about you. Just kidding. Yeah, Dress Barn, I know. But I like that name, Dress Barn. Just, you know what I mean? Barn. Portly, and queen sizes. There you go. Darlene said, yes, queen size. I like, what do they call them? Extra, no, not super sized. I forget what it was. There was a name. Like, I never had a pair of blue jeans, I think, in my life. Oh, no. Now I do, but never as a kid. Never. Couldn't get them. I mean, you could, but they had like dungarees and like railroad cars. But Levi, nah. Nope. Didn't have it. Big boned. Smiling Sue said, you're a big bone. That's my mother told me that. Are you fat? No, you're just big. You're big. Euphemism. I always tell people it was my height. That's what my weight is fine. I should be about 6'7". It would be perfect. Here's one for you. How many of you folks are shrinking? How many of you are shrinking? How many of you old codgers are shrinking? How many of you say, what the hell? Do you go to like get a physical and they see how tall you are? Like, well, you're 4'3". What? Check that again. How many of you? You know why? Because the discs compress. Come on, look at this. Paul's shrinking. Who's shrinking? Come on. Who's shrinking? Have you noticed that? That's a beautiful. Mark says shriveling. I love this whole thing. I think it's funny. Sylvia's shrinking. We're shrinking. And by the way, here's the thing. Look at this. Ahmad shrinking. We're doing it. We're saying, what's happening? Manjaw, me. We're up. Now here's the deal. You know when they do your this is it. This is my favorite. When you have a you look at the BMIs and they say, well, how tall are you? Give me my old size. Well, how much you weigh? 150. Well, no, but I was 5'10", and now I'm 5 feet. So do I put in my new weight or the weight? Because the only thing that are different is my discs have shrunk. Wes lost an inch. Look at this. Gloria says, we would walk the rows and pull out the tassels. Hardly work. We were hired by big companies like, I don't have a clue why. I don't know what this means. You were walk behind. I got to find out what you did. You were walking behind, pulling the tassels. That sounds interesting. That's interesting. You know, I've also noticed too, different things. You know, when you get to be men, one thing is I love this. Men in particular, ladies don't have this, but for some reason they say, all of a sudden you get these ear things. My friend, I love Jerry Wexler. Jerry Wexler was one of my best buddies, had the greatest vocabulary, but he had hair in his ears that I swear to God, I thought, how can you even hear with this? I hate men who have hair down here. Shave it. That awful kind of smudgy. But when you get older, all of a sudden, ears. My friend told me one time, one of the funny things, he texted me, called me. He says, all of a sudden I said, hello or yellow. He said, eyebrow dandruff. What's that about? I loved it. When you get older, get ready for this. You're older. When you get older, do you ever get these like hemangiomas? There's like this red, almost like like somebody took a red marker, put it right there. It's called hemangioma. It's benign. It means nothing, but it's like, boom, because you're older. How about your skin? You get those, you know why? Because you lose subcutaneous fat under your hands. So what? What are you supposed to do? Oh, I moisturize the brows, my friend. Oh, no, I got the best stuff in the world. Oh, no, I took care of that. I never have that. It's the only thing. Let me tell you something. And I did a product. Men moisturize. I know nobody thinks about this. Doesn't seem kind of moisturize. Women have it so much better. You going to bed? Just a minute. I'll be done. You know, we're like, what are you doing? And feet. Oh my Lord. I'm not gonna go into that. Something happens to feet, and I don't know what it is. I don't know, but it turns into a fetlock. Something happens. Something, and it must be true. Or they'll say, "Dear God," and you get these things go like this, and you get the toes, and oh my Lord! But you know what? Would you like to be dead? I can fix that. I can fix it. You can be dead if you'd like. You want to do that? Smiling Sue said, I embrace aging. You got no choice. You got no choice. This is the, I mean, embrace it or not. Go ahead. Just whatever you want. That's it. It's either this or you're dead. You want to talk about it? Go ahead. But don't embrace it. Be the cool. Do you think Sean Connery didn't Sean Connery look great without it bald? Jack Nicholson never wore a toque. Steve Martin had his white hair. I mean, just whatever you look like, embrace it. Wear it. Make it cool. I don't understand it. Enough. Okay, one more time. Remember, follow Mrs. L. I want you to go right now and go to her Eitan Pates video. All right, dear friends, we love you. Again, I thank you so much. Sparky, it's been terrific. Sean Martin, thank you. And Juan Naranja, the orange man. Ujo Naranja, orange juice. All right, my friends, we'll see you tonight at, Sparky's back again. Sparky says, sounds like working in the agricultural industry, specifically corn. Corn has tassels. He's trying to figure this out. Sparky, I love when Sparky gets on something. He'll focus on something. You know, corn. You know how many, like, what is a niblet? It's a little nibble. Think about it. All right, dear friends. We'll see you tonight at 7 p.m. Until then, don't forget, subscribe. Don't forget the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Ta-ta.